Good. And let's see. Let me do one more shot of this screen share idea.
We have to make an appointment for a Dr. Stubby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a little tech plan here. Okay, any second it's going to happen. Okay, now to make that what we're really looking for, it looks like that. Okay, screen share looking good?
Yep.
Great. So, hey, everybody, welcome to this idea called Thriving Past 50. And, sometimes when I get on these calls, maybe you, it takes a second to kind of just calm my mind and calm myself down a bit and to take a deep breath into some new ideas, into some new connections, new relationships, people that we're meeting maybe for the first time, calmly and relax into a balanced place and maybe be open to new possibilities. And, to me, this idea of thriving past 50, I'm learning about it a lot as a real estate broker. I have a conversation often, like Morella does too, I think, with folks wondering what's their next step. And we're dealing with something that is so primal. It's about home, it's about the life they want to create. And so, how do we keep ourselves sparked up and happy about what we're doing in our life? And in that way, find more of our sense of purpose. And then maybe we work on making these slides work too. Okay. And apologies for the tech question. Ah, boy. Okay. Let me see. Sorry, folks. Let's get this square. And
I think there is a slideshow button up there on the top toolbar.
indeed, there is. And when I go to that, Amp, you're right. A slideshow start from. Okay. But I'm not on screen yet, am I?
Nope.
Okay, so there's something. Oh boy. Okay, let's work on this here.
While he's working at it, everybody say hi, Raquel. Raquel Chase is in the house. Joyce. Oh, okay. I see
Okay.
progress. Ta-da!
Looks like progress. Okay, folks, thanks so much. And are you, did you record? Yes, you did.
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, hey guys.
Pam might start singing. We want to be ready, so the recording.
Oh, that's it. Could happen any minute. So, frankly, at this stage of life, my stage, I'm 69 years old. I don't know how I ever got to be this age, but I'm looking at the ways that I look at how I think about life and what do I think about the future. There are two lives that we live, and this is something you may have heard me mention before. But there's two lives that we live. First, there's our first life, where we're setting our directions in life, we're getting our education, we're trying to figure out who we are, all those kind of things that go with our younger developing self. And then there's our second life, when we realize we only really have one. We only really have one life. And in that way, we start to map out, gee, what are we doing now? How does that look into our future? Because time's going by for all of us, but let's age less along the way. There's an inevitable truth. We're all going to get a little bit older. But the question is, how do we do that with vitality and spirit and, frankly, with a sense of spark in our life? And healthcare always improving. It means we're going to live longer lives. And the truth is, not all Americans or not all people in the world have enough financial foundation to take care of themselves through the times of their longer life. This is my grandpa. This is my dad's dad. And we're actually, in this way, we're kind of explorers. There's a whole new world that's now all around us, which we have more years of healthy life ahead. So what are we going to do with those? What are we going to do with those? So here's a story. Imagine two spunky young guys, like maybe this fellow here kind of guy, And they decide they got to do something. The year's 2000, and the story goes that they were on their way to Dallas, Texas, because they had a cool little company that they'd started where you could actually, online, you could actually get DVDs sent to you and watch movies at home. Man, but as they saw the new millennium, this is the year 2000, as the new millennium was coming, they saw, oh man, competition is going to be just fierce. And they're on their way to a big glass and steel building out in Dallas because they're going to their top competitor and saying, dudes, will you buy us? We want you to buy us. You're our top competitor. And the guy who was sitting back in his chair, he's the boss of this big company, and he's, wearing fancy shoes and everything else. And he says, well, I don't know. The truth is, online businesses are never going to make it. They can never be profitable. So, I mean, boys, what are you thinking? They say, $50 million. He what? He kind of laughs them out the door. And, it didn't work out. They didn't sell to him. But, come to today, that big blockbuster company went bankrupt in 2010. And the other guys, you might know as Netflix. The world moved on. And it was all about Blockbuster's leadership was really focusing on what had worked in the past and absolutely could not shift with the future. So, I mean, how does that relate to our life? Let me ask you, what do you want to do in your life? And as you think about from this time forward, these upstart guys that we talked about, they're now doing 29 billion, their value. But the point is, what do we ask ourselves about what are our old patterns, our familiar ways of thinking and being that might have worked in the past, but might not be the whole thing that we can imagine. And if it could be that we find and discover new ways of being, new ways of thinking, new opportunities that come from things as they're developing all around us, that might be much more in line with our true life purpose. And that's what this is really about. And that might even be if the things that we imagine maybe aren't figured out yet. How do we have courage to move ahead on that? Because we can't predict the future, but we should be able to adapt and grow with it. So when we can stay open to new learning and never settle for the same old business as usual, that's what we're talking about here in Thriving Past 50. And realizing that there could be some old patterns that we hold on to that don't really empower us and really bring us to where we want to go, old go-to habits, right? So it begins with an honest awareness of really where we're starting. Do we feel like we're alone on the path? But welcome to the rest of your life. Welcome today to the turning point of where you're going next in life. And I think that kind of honest awareness of how we're thinking, what we're thinking, but how we're thinking too, and let go of our familiar stories. To me, it's really, there's some questions about what worries do we all might have about getting older. And if I ask you, how are you doing with getting older right now in your life? And, I had a wonderful talk yesterday with a guy I went to high school with. And he said, you know what, Forrest, I don't think I have a bunch of worries about growing older. I worry about the world for my kids and my grandkids. But he was so balanced and solid, and I was inspired by, his name is Gary, I was inspired by how solid and relaxed he was because he's not focusing on worries. And I go, man, that's awesome. What if today can actually be a true turning point for you and for me? What if today's a turning point? Okay? And what is it if I decide I want, to spark things up a bit? Do I have that choice? Am I allowed to do that? Well, you could say, things are fine with me. I'm pretty happy. A lot of things are okay. I guess, I make a living. Yeah. Or we could talk about your why, the why that's lighting you up now in your life and going forward. And that's what I'm really talking about. If the spark has gotten a little dim and maybe maybe the spark went out a few years ago. That can be in our relationship. It can be in how we look at our life future. And what are we confident and optimistic? I don't mean faking it, but I mean having an ongoing way that we tap into our true purpose as it is evolving, because all of us might set a new course. We might imagine a place even over the frickin' horizon that we've only thought about. But what if we could spark that into life now? Here's our friend Denise. Now, some of you know her from Kitsap Circle. She just came home yesterday from 3 weeks all around Italy on her e-bike with these different friends. Here she is with Puccini. She's a senior health nurse, and she's also a pianist. So here she is next to the statue of Puccini in Italy, and she's going all around Italy on these freaking bikes. It's just really cool. Way to go, Denise. And we'll see her on Kitsap Circle, I hope, tomorrow. But what about you? What about the changes you'd like to see in your health? What about the notion of your creative life? Maybe there's something creative that you've always wanted to do, or take back some fun activity of the past and re-nurture that. And find some new paths, some new friends maybe, and really to spark ourselves into the future. That's really what this is all about. The project is truly about how do we take a look at the future. Here's the 10-year test. Okay, here you go. Look out. This comes from a woman who decided, listen, I'm 25 years old. I want to be a dancer. But I didn't grow up as a dancer. I've had no training, but I want to be a dancer. Dang it. She asked herself, in 10 years from now, how old will I be? How old will you be? How old will I be in 10 years? She said, will I regret not learning to dance? She said, damn yes. If I don't get with it now, I'm going to regret it and kick myself in the tail. Why didn't I step into that? For me, it included martial arts, and at age 48, I started this brand, Aikido. You see me in the back row there, and joining with a wonderful bunch of people in Aikido, the way of harmony. And it took me 12 years to get black belt, but I did it, and I was tenacious. And my beautiful Sandra, who's in the front row there, was in there too. So that was a bonus. Here's the myth. The myth of, well, Forrest, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to make a change. I'm not ready. Come on, man. Everything's kind of okay. Or as Brian would say, things are fine. He loves that idea. What if we think, well, I'm not ready to make a shift and make a change? No, the story is always start before we're ready. Start now. Here's what the master class is about. We've got a class coming up called Thriving Past 50. And it's to you, it would be a free class. It's about setting specific new courses for vitality, for your life energy, tracking that. Update and refine your life purpose to now. What's your life purpose going forward? And refresh your financial security plans. I mean, all these things can slide, back to the back burner, and some people isolate. So it's also about building caring connections. Thriving Past 50, the masterclass, it'll be about a 90-minute class, and I'd invite you to it if you're interested. It's absolutely about being more clear and open-eyed about how we see all this going forward. So Thriving Past 50, I mean, hey, you've all heard stories like my friend Jim told, which is his dad worked for the railroad for 40 years and retired to have his life of fishing. He died about 9 months later. And it's not just about, oh my gosh, time's going by, I hate getting older, I don't like losing my hair, or whatever it is. No, it can also just having the inspired life you really do want to have. So that's the story. Thriving Past 50, let's all do it together. And I think we can jump out of some of the old patterns that otherwise might have been our past way of being. Thanks so much. Thanks, BV, and you can hit the off button, I guess.
Thank you, brother.
Good.
Where do we go? Hold on. Wait for me. There we go.